Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Lena and I do videos all about software engineering, lifestyle, technology, living here in New York City, anything like that. So if that's your niche, if you're interested in that, you should definitely subscribe to my channel. We all know that when you work at big tech, in a big tech company, or even in a small tech company, you get a lot of perks. Today, I'm going to be talking about the perks that nobody tells you about. Before we start this video, I just want to say if you're interested in switching into the tech field and you're considering a bootcamp, you should definitely check out Coding Dojo. And thank you so much, Coding Dojo, for sponsoring this video. Coding bootcamps are recognized by employers as a viable way to get into the tech industry. I personally have multiple colleagues who have gone through coding bootcamps, and that's been their formal computer science training, and now they work as professional software engineers. It can be difficult to assess the efficacy of different coding bootcamps, but one of the major metrics to do so is analyzing student outcomes. Coding Dojo is actually the #1 ranked coding bootcamp nationally in terms of student outcomes. 89.1% of graduates of Coding Dojo land a job in the tech field within 6 months, and 95.3% of students land one within 1 year. Most people going into the Coding Dojo bootcamp had zero experience. The only things you need are a willingness to learn and a drive to work hard. All of Coding Dojo's data about their student outcomes is audited by a third party, and you can check out that full report in my description. And one thing that sets Coding Dojo apart is their lifelong career services. So if you get a job that you don't like, you can always reach back out to them and they will help you find a new job. It's kind of like being an alumni of a school. You kind of have an alumni network within Coding Dojo that is designed to help you find a job throughout your entire life. So if you're interested, check them out in my description below. Thanks again for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into the tech perks. So the ones that I think most people know that are pretty common, so I'm just going to get those out of the way, are free lunch. So that's super common at a lot of big tech companies. They'll give you free lunch, and this seems like a huge perk, but it actually only costs about $2,000 per employee per year, which if you think about it, the amount of joy that I think employees get and also save time by not having them go out to lunch every day, I think for most companies it's definitely worth it for them to provide free lunch, and that's one of the major reasons that they do. And then another perk that I feel like most companies offer that we all know about is either fitness reimbursement, so they'll reimburse you for your gym, or they'll have an actual fitness center if the company is big enough and they just happen to have a gym in their company. You can use that free of charge. So those are two big perks that definitely make a difference that I think a lot of companies offer. But today I'm going to be talking about also ones that I think are definitely less common and people know less about. So the first one that I have written down is free vision and dental insurance. This one is kind of crazy to me. Like, I cannot believe that at a lot of companies this is definitely the case. You pay for health insurance. It's usually a very low premium actually, but specifically for vision and dental, a lot of times at big companies it's completely free. The next one is a learning budget. A lot of companies offer this, which is basically some dollar amount, maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 for learning related expenses. And I think a lot of times this can be reimbursed in the form of books, in the form of Duolingo, in the form of improv classes, just random things to enhance your learning. I think depending on the company, you have to sort of see how closely these learning sessions can be tied to your actual work. So some companies might reimburse things that are only related to technology or business, whereas other companies might be like, oh, an improv class that'll help with your public speaking, which in turn will help you at work. I don't know if that's really the case, but they'll reimburse a lot of things like that. The next is a relocation budget and temporary housing. So I know this is pretty common for a lot of big tech companies. Basically what it is they'll pay for you to relocate, which I think is somewhat standard. You know, they'll cover your moving expenses, they'll help you move wherever it is. But let's say you're moving to somewhere like New York for the first time and the apartment market is very hot. You have to kind of be there in the moment to find an apartment. What a lot of companies will do is they'll just pay for you to live in like a really nice luxury apartment for a month when you're finding your housing and your actual apartment. So this can be super nice to sort of cut down on the stress of moving. You also get to live in a really nice place for a month. I have friends who work at a lot of big tech companies and their living situations were so nice, even in comparison to the apartments they ended up moving in. So yeah, that can be a really nice perk and just a really fun experience as well. The next is something that I personally had during an internship, and I think this is somewhat common, though I don't really know of a lot of companies that have it, but I actually got a free rental car during the course of my internship. So there was a transportation stipend, and you could either pick that or you could get the free rental car. And I know that a lot of larger companies will help you out in terms of leasing a car. I just felt like I didn't really pay for my rental car because it didn't come out of my salary, and the stipend that I would have gotten was not equivalent to the price of the rental car. So that was definitely a really cool benefit, and I really appreciated it. The next perk is like, I think, one of the most valuable perks, which is tuition reimbursement. And this is common-ish. This one you can definitely Google which companies offer it and which ones don't. A lot of companies will reimburse your tuition at school, not like your former student loans, but if you're to go to school while working at the company, they'll reimburse it up to a certain dollar amount. Usually this dollar amount, honestly, in my opinion, compared to the price of American education, is not that high. I think for Google it's about $10,000. So while that is substantial, it probably won't cover the full cost of whatever program you choose to enroll in, but it could definitely be helpful. The next is something that I think is pretty great, and I wish more companies would do this, which is matching donations and volunteer time at nonprofit organizations. What I mean by this is if employees choose to make a donation to a nonprofit, a lot of companies will match that donation, which is really awesome. And then separately, if an employee chooses to volunteer at a nonprofit organization, a lot of companies will give a certain amount per hour that you volunteered at an organization directly to that organization. And I think those are two really great ways to both incentivize your employees to go out and try to do some good for the community and also give back to the communities that these companies are in. My next one is unlimited vacation. You might be like, what is unlimited vacation? But it's exactly what it sounds like. I know that this policy is definitely controversial and it does definitely range depending on where you work, but it is what it sounds. You can just take time off when you want to take time off. Yeah, you don't have like a certain number of paid time off days, you just have unlimited. In reality, at some places, it can often encourage employees to work more, and I think that's why a lot of companies have this. But if you work somewhere with unlimited vacation, I highly suggest either keeping a spreadsheet of how many days you would want to take off per year and just making sure you're at least hitting that number so you're at least not losing out by having unlimited vacation. The next one, which is becoming more and more common, is very generous parental leave. Now, we're nowhere close to European nations or anywhere like that here in the US in terms of parental leave, but a lot of companies now offer 16 plus weeks of parental leave. This is definitely specific to the tech industry. I know a lot of other industries are not there yet. The tech industry obviously has a lot of money, so they can support their employees in this way, but I think it is very generous and necessary in a way when you have a child to have some time off work to start caring for that child. The next perk, which I think personally is really cool, but I don't know if everyone agrees, is private concerts or events. So if you work at a really big tech company, oftentimes they'll just hire like these very famous people to either give you a private concert, so a name brand artist, think like Demi Lovato or something like that, or they'll have someone who's very famous come and speak to the company directly. I've been to presentations by Phil Knight, who started Shoe Dog, Melinda Gates, things like that. So you can definitely see a lot of very interesting presentations for free by working at a lot of big tech companies, as well as go to some free concerts and events. And my last two are more financial specific benefits that I'm not sure everyone knows about, but should be shared because it's important for everyone to have the same information. So the first is a signing bonus. A lot of big tech companies, regardless of when you sign on, will give you a signing bonus. And at some companies, this can be almost a year's worth of your salary. Isn't that wild? I don't know if that's the best use of money, but it's definitely a use of money that you can get, and it is a perk of working in big tech. And the last one is the value of stock options. A lot of people just look at their base salary in terms of what they're making and think about that in terms of their total compensation, but it's really not. At a lot of big companies, you'll get a lot of stock options, and those stock options can actually be very valuable. So I used a platform called levels.fyi, which I'll link below, to look up different total compensation average estimates at different companies. Most stock options for an entry-level software engineer in big tech are about $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and then at the senior level that can be around $125,000 a year. So that's definitely a huge chunk on top of what you're already being paid that is paid out in stock options that I think a lot of people forget about. Okay, that is everything that I have. I hope you enjoyed all of those different perks. Let me know if I missed anything down below. Feel free to leave a comment, and yeah, tell me which ones you did or didn't know because I'm very curious. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. You can send me a message if you have any questions or just leave me a comment. I usually get to those. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye.